We just had technical difficulties, and I'm hoping everyone is still in. It looks as though everyone may still be in. We appear to have lost Karen for the moment, and also Stephanie, so hopefully they will log back in. Can everyone hear me?
I can, Don.
Okay.
Yes.
How about anybody out in the audience? Are you able to hear? I see a hand raised. So it's looking like we are back on. Becca, I don't know if you can check in with Karen and Stephanie to let them know somehow they bumped out.
Yep, I'm working on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I see a question. Oh, just the yes that you can hear. Apologize to this. Darren and I were just kind of sitting and listening in, and I got popped out too and popped back in again. And Darren messaged me and said that was odd, and it definitely was, because I see, you know, there were 3 of the organizers that got popped out and everybody else is still here. So gotta love technology.
That's the good news. The audience stayed put.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things I'm going to use, I'm going to put in a shameless plug for some of the things that we're doing. Yeah, Sandra, there isn't any video right as yet because Karen, says Emily says she got booted out too.
Sorry to interrupt. Karen says she's here, but no one can hear her.
And I can't see her either unless she's back as an attendee, perhaps. Let me take a look. And if she is, I'll make her an organizer again. There we go. I do see her. Well, and that's just great fun. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so I've been talking for about 10 minutes, and I'm guessing nobody heard me.
And that would be exactly right, but you are back, I believe. And several of us logged out, but not everyone. So that's probably the strangest thing I've seen with this platform yet.
Okay.
Some people got bumped out, some did not, and we're back, I believe.
I got bumped out.
So did I.
Oh, okay.
So
Hey.
yeah.
If you,
all right,
you know,
try this.
Don, if you didn't want us to do the presentation, you should have just told us. We, you know.
You know, I'd get away with that, but geez, I'm sorry. I've been caught.
Anyway, back to where we were.
Forward. It's all good.
So Stephanie, can you see the screen? Do you want to just go?
I can. I'm just going to jump back in. All right. Okay. Asset building and why does it matter? So what are assets? Let's go to the next slide. Assets are anything that provide, next slide, please?
Can you see it?
There we go. Awesome. Assets, at the end of the day, are about opportunity. They're those things that you can leverage to help you move up in the world economically. In the United States, one of the best ways to build assets and to move up is home ownership. Another is obviously having savings, whether it's kind of your rainy day or emergency savings or savings for retirement. And I think we've all seen in the last year how important that is to have that nest egg there in case you need it. Owning a vehicle is an asset. It allows you, it gives you mobility, it allows you to get to a job or perhaps get to school. Launching your own business. If you've got the asset of a home, maybe you can take out a home equity loan and start that dream business that you've always thought of. Certainly education is an enormous asset for people across the United States, actually across the world. The more educational opportunities you have, the more opportunities you have to expand, especially your income. Good credit. Most people don't think about this until they go to take out a loan, but having good credit is absolutely an asset. Let's think on the flip side. If you don't have good credit, You can most times you can't take out a loan, or if you're able to get one, you're getting one at a very high interest rate. And probably one thing that's not on the slide, but is really probably the most important thing for all of you, is health. Your health is an asset. And the work that you do every day as case managers, helping folks with the healthcare authority to move forward, build good health, and then build financial assets, they're all intertwined. So where are we in Washington State? Next slide, please. The reality of Washington State is a little more harsh. I'm not going to go into all of these statistics, but I just wanted to give you a sense. We've got about 25% of our residents in Washington that are unbanked or underbanked. What does that mean specifically? It means that they don't have access to a mainstream bank, like a Bank of America or a BECU. They can't open an account there. The problem with that is that if you don't have access to mainstream banking, then you're using services like a check cashing service or a Quicken Loans, where the interest rates can be very high and there's a lot of additional fees. Some other statistics about Washington State. 4 out of 10, home ownership is only 4 out of 10. So it means that 6 out of 10 of our residents don't own their own homes. What else? About 50% of our residents in Washington have subprime credit, meaning that if they can get a loan, they're getting it at a very high interest rate. We've got a pretty high average of credit card debt in Washington State, and we rank just about in the bottom of the country in terms of micro-enterprise ownership. Micro-enterprise are the smallest businesses, the ones where you start a small business generally out of your home and you build it up until you get a brick and mortar, or in these days, having an online business. But we're ranked just about at the bottom in the country in terms of helping people start small businesses. And then finally, for those of you with kids, in Washington State, only 2 school districts out of 295 school districts provide consistent financial education classes for our students in K through 12. And again, that goes back to the education. Financial education is absolutely an asset. Next slide, please. So how do we combat some of these realities in Washington State? Well, we've got 4 great resources, next slide please, to talk to you about how to fill in the gap. All right, and the first one we're going to talk about today is the Earned Income Tax Credit. But before we do, next slide please, we have a question for all of you. Karen, and this is over to you.
Okay, hopefully you can, I think my computer is on a bit of a delay, but the question is, and we're going to ask folks if they would please use the chat feature. And I sincerely apologize for this. I should have mentioned that first. We will have time in the end for questions, but if you could submit any questions you have on the chat feature at any time during the presentation, we'll be monitoring that and we'll be addressing those at the end. So my apologies for not mentioning that earlier, but the question that we had is, what would you do if you had an extra $2,100 right now? So rather than have 100 people chime in all at once on the presentation, we thought we'd ask you to use the chat feature and come up with some ideas of how you might utilize it. Give everybody just a moment there. And Rebecca, real quickly, are there any that have come in on the chat you could just share with us?
Yeah, a lot of people they would save it or pay off loans, invest.
Sounds like Stephanie had quite an impact. So I think we're done. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Stephanie's speech is great. All right, well, one of the features that can help you gain an extra $2,100 or individuals throughout the state is the Earned Income Tax Credit. And I was trying to intertwine asset building in with Earned Income Tax Credit because EITC can enable individuals and families to actually gain some cash every year, and what they do with it is what's important, or how they build their assets with it is what's really important. A lot of folks tend to, if they get a nice pile of money, in some respects it's let's buy a television or put it towards a new car or other things, but we're trying to build the asset building in with the EITC to emphasize how important it is to use the assets wisely. So earned income tax credit, what is it, who can get it, and why it matters? So this slide I like because the definition according to the IRS is this long version I have on the left, but I kind of enjoy the cartoon on the right a little more because it talks about what if the IRS made a GPS, because a lot of their information and what they state is very challenging to understand, even for educated individuals. And so if you can imagine, or if you don't speak English or other barriers, how difficult that might be to just understand what EITC is, nonetheless why I would want it. So this is the definition there again for the IRS, but we're going to go to the easier definition. And so the easier one is that the earned income tax credit, it helps low to moderate income working people keep more of their money they earn by reducing the taxes they owe at the end of the year. So it can reduce your tax debt. Another thing it does, it also provides a financial boost for households based on their income and family size. So those are basically the two logically stated, I guess, definitions for what EITC is. But we're going to go a little broader in to show you exactly how it works and the benefits and just the origin of EITC in general, actually. So nationwide, there are 29 states that, and DC, District of Columbia, actually have a state level EITC law. 24 states have a refundable EITC and 6 have a non-refundable. And the difference between a refundable and a non-refundable is a refundable EITC allows the filers to use the full value of their tax credit, even if it exceeds the amount they owe. So in other words, they could actually obtain a refund. So if they owe $1,500 in taxes and they have a tax credit that's been calculated out to give them $2,500 or $3,000, the difference between the two is what they can get in return. A non-refundable tax credit is one that does not refund any funds back to the individual. Washington is one of those that has a refundable tax credit. We're up there, so we are in that corner right up there. Actually, so the EITC itself has been in place since 1975. Rhode Island was the first to enact a state EITC. The state of Washington does have an EITC, an earned income tax credit at the state level. It was enacted in 2008. However, since 2008, it has yet to be funded by the legislature. So I think part and part it's budgets, but we also don't have a state income tax too, which may have a bearing on that. But we don't have the ability to utilize it because it hasn't been funded. But there are more than 25 million eligible tax filers receiving about $63 billion in federal EITC back, and this was in the 2019 tax year. Pardon me. The average amount nationally that a family or individual would get back is $2,476, and this was last year. So here's some EITC facts for the state of Washington. And they started with 2015 up all the way up to 2018. And I'm sorry we don't have the actual information on Washington for last year yet, but because the tax year ended later in the season, the IRS hasn't published our state information. So I actually don't have that. But the most recent we have, you can see it's pretty steady, right about between 400 and 450,000 people actually claim EITC in our state. Our state received in 2018 $883 million last year, which was roughly about $2,100 per household. The reason that they fluctuate from year to year, one is the economy has a lot to do with it, number one, and also the calculations of the amounts per family, they do vary according to data and statistics and poverty information. So that fluctuates as well, which is why the amounts earned per back do vary. We expect that this year, though, it's going to be pretty heavy filing for EITC, likely due to COVID, I'm sure, because of a lot of people were unemployed. They had a huge hit in their economy, so we expect these numbers to greatly jump, and the amount per household will roughly be, my guess is about the same because the qualifiers are about the same. So the one thing you may not know that EITC is one of the most effective public health interventions that you've likely never heard of, because mothers are the largest that receive EITC, and it increases their they have a greater improvement in their own health, including high blood pressure. Children and families receiving EITC show fewer behavioral health problems, including anxiety and depression. And babies born to mothers eligible to receive the benefit have the largest improvement in birth outcomes. And also, what does EITC do for individuals, families, communities as well? Is it puts money back in their pockets, helps to reduce food insecurity, frees up money for childcare expenses, things like that. But in the community level, it puts money back in local economies. It can reduce healthcare costs and improve the health of maternal and mothers and children. So what are the benefits of EITC? Well, another one is that it helps lift approximately 9.4 million families out of poverty. That's a lot. That's a huge number, which includes 5 million children. Now, this is not in Washington State. This is nationally, but that's an enormous impact. I think it's one of the largest poverty programs there is by the federal government. And it reduces the severity of poverty for an additional 18.7 million families, which it takes them, doesn't move them completely out of a poverty level, but it does help the severity of their poverty at that point. Another thing that it does is it doesn't cut the amount of taxes that you might owe, but it does help get a benefit back in that I mentioned before. You can get a refund actually, so you can get money back more than the taxes you owe, which is really great to have. So does EITC make a difference? Well, even if families are not lifted out of poverty, there are benefits, even if it doesn't have a huge impact, which overall $2,100 does not sound perhaps like a lot of money. But if you only earn $20,000 a year or a small amount of money, which literally happens, that's 10% of your income. So it may not have that initial bang to lift you completely out of poverty. It does have still great benefit and has a substantial impact. And that's relatively because of the benefit to the individuals and families filing for EITC. And even a small amount of a benefit can have a meaningful effect. It also can increase your family finances and strengthen communities when those dollars flow into a local community. So we had actually set aside to do a quick break at this time, but we are flowing through this much faster. So we're going to keep you tied to your computers. Ignore this next slide. And I'm going to bounce past this one really quick because we'll come back to that after the next one. So how do you know if an individual, or even yourselves to be quite honest, might qualify for EITC? We have found that EITC is not just a program targeted for individuals in poverty or low income. There are many people, including probably a lot of those on this phone call, myself included, that can qualify for EITC. So it is a great program and a great benefit all around. It's not just for those in low income. There are moderate income individuals that can file as well. So for 2020, here is this talks about what you can earn, how much you can get back for the amount of earnings that you have, and then the overall refund or return to you in the end. And this is for 2020. This was just released, and to be quite honest, there may be an increase to this or not. I'm not sure because we have a new administration coming in. Things are a little different, and so there might be some variances. But typically, this would be the amount of money, and it has increased this year too. If you have 3 or more children, you can get $6,660 back in an earned income tax credit. But there are a lot of additional qualifiers. You can't just file for this without there's some criteria that's up front that you need to meet before you can just file. So an individual has to earn at least $1 worth of income. Your pension and unemployment benefits do not count towards that $1. If you have any investment income, it has to be less than $3,650 or $3,650 or less. And you can't claim the benefit if you're married filing separately, meaning you both can't claim that. It's one or the other. The bottom two talk about you can't, it has to do with certain filings if you're working in foreign service or you have specific employment criteria. Those are things that are excluded. And then there are special EITC rules for military, clergy, and as well as people who have disability income or have children with disabilities. Here's additional requirements. We've got quite the family here on the right, but if you claim one or more children as part of your earned income, you have to pass additional tests, or these are the other things that are required. So if you are going to claim children, they have to be your son, daughter, adopted child, stepchild. It goes on and on and on. It's quite a list, but it includes nieces and nephews. So brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. If you're going to claim them, it's quite a broad list. If you're going to claim a child, they have to be under 19 at the end of the year, or they must be under 24 if they were a full-time student. So if you do have a child living at home, I think many of us have gone through this where they just don't seem to want to leave. They just love living at home. But as long as they're a student, that's fine to still claim them until they're 24. I can't help those that might still have kids at home that are past that age. And then there is no limit for children that are permanently and totally disabled. There's no age limit on that. Then if you are going to claim EITC for each individual child, you need their social security number, their birth date, and the child must have lived with you or your spouse in the US for more than 6 months of the year. So what if you're one of the individuals that want to know about claiming EITC, but you don't have any children? If you don't have kids to claim. So you still can qualify. You just have to meet the following 3 conditions. To reside in the US for more than 6 months. No one can claim you as a dependent or qualifying child on their tax return. And you have to be at least between the ages of 25 and under 65 by the end of the year. And so what I'm going to address here is, if this is such a great benefit, and it is, but there are people missing the mark, and this is really frustrating for those of us that might be educated on EITC and they know that it's available, but it's challenging at times to get that information out to individuals that might be eligible. They don't even know they qualify, which is one of the reasons we're hoping you can share the message for us. But there's 75 to 80% of the population that are eligible only actually claim EITC. And that means that 20 to 25% don't even take advantage of the claim they have. And there are a variety of reasons why through some research we've discovered, but that's sad. Everybody that has a benefit coming should take advantage of it, but there are a lot of reasons why. So EITC, you claimed it, you earned it, it's your money. So again, this year in Washington, the full benefit you could get is over $6,600. And nationally, again, about 5 million potentially eligible taxpayers don't claim the tax credit. And then there are, among the eligible non-claimants, 1.7 million filed taxes but didn't claim the tax credit. And then 3.3 million individuals don't even file a tax return, which is allowable, but by not filing a tax return, they may not be taking advantage of the benefit they have coming. So I'm going to break at this point really quick and see if it would be beneficial to take a quick 5-minute break for folks. We're trying to be cognizant of the fact that you're sitting in front of a computer and listening to Stephanie and myself talk at you for a while. So we're going to allow a quick 5-minute break. It's 9:01, and 9:06 we will resume the broadcast. So let's have a little moment of a break. Thanks. There we go.
So for those of you that are still here, I'm going to chime in with my shameless plug that I almost did when we when we had our technical difficulties. We are looking for agencies that want to do supported employment fidelity reviews or to be part of a review team. So if anyone is within an agency that would like to be hosting a review, or you'd like to be on a review team, please let Darren or myself know. We're getting ready to do contracting for next year. Pardon me. With those agencies that do want to participate. So opportunity for your agency to gain a little more income, as well as to end up being a participant in a wonderful learning opportunity.
Okay, we're just about done with our small break there. Thought we'd throw in some interesting little facts, or did you know information, because we're never done learning, right? So here's a bit of information that you might find interesting, I think. So the first one is, hang on one second, oops. That it is impossible to hum while holding your nose. So I'm sure everybody out there in the audience, well, some of you might be out there holding your nose right now and trying it, but you cannot hum while you're holding your nose. There's something that you've learned today that you can take back with you. Another thing is that an individual will lose up to 30% of their taste buds during an airline flight, which might explain why airline food always tastes so bad for those that might fly frequently. And that another interesting fact is water makes a different sound, pouring sound, depending upon its temperature. It all has to do with the velocity of the water and the heat and the thickness and all sorts of things and pitch. But it's that I tried it last night and that was very true. Everybody's running for their sinks right now, I think. And the other one is, this is fascinating to me, that if you put grapes in a microwave, they will explode and they will actually light on fire. So don't let your children have grapes when they go near the microwave.
These are great, Karen.
Yeah. Just keeps the mind going, and they're a little fun to put in there in the middle. Has nothing to do with the EITC, other than anything, actually. Bad airline food, maybe because you might be going to a conference, but that's about it. But there you go. Alrighty, so I have to fast forward through a few of these real quick. Sorry about that. And now we're going to talk about, I mentioned that there are many people that don't claim EITC, and we're going to talk about, well, why wouldn't you? If you've got this great tax benefit, why would you not claim it? And that, again, I think we mentioned this a little ago, but that many people are not required to file a federal tax return because their income is too low. So they don't even know about the benefit because they don't file a return to even learn about it, for one thing, or they simply think, well, it's not worth my trouble. But in the long run, I hope that folks would feel that it is worth their trouble of filing a return to get a benefit. There are additional qualifiers that I mentioned and showed that has to do with the relationship and residency of your family or individual. It is a complex tax benefit. There's a lot of nuances to it. We're hitting the more higher level pieces, but some people are just discouraged from claiming it because they're not sure if they're eligible or they're not, or they're afraid if they file for it, or if they did it wrong, and it's just a bit of a fear, so they're discouraged from even filing it. And then another big factor that we found is if you're low income or moderate income, for goodness sakes, anybody actually, there are a lot of tax sites out there, and most of them are a lot of them will charge, I'll put it that way. So they're a fee tax based preparation service. And if you're a low income person, to have to go pay a fee to have your taxes done, that cuts into the ability of your tax return. And especially during the COVID period, right now we are expecting that a lot of people that might not have even qualified for EITC in years past will now qualify this year. So trying to get the word out and informing people about it is really important, because it is a benefit that they can actually receive, but they're just simply unaware of it. Another reason why is that your eligibility can vary from year to year. I showed the slides where it was slightly different from one year to another. Usually it's about 400 to 450,000 of us in Washington file, but they do vary. The criteria can vary as far as the income level. Again, the complexity of the tax can discourage some people from claiming it. And then majority of the, there's a graph here that shows the majority of earned income tax credit families can receive a credit for only 1 or 2 times, or they only file for it 1 or 2 times. So they might be in a situation where they're filing currently, or maybe this year and next year, but after that, they're no longer filing. So the amount of people that file consecutively year after year for a variety of different reasons is about 20% after 5 years. Those that utilize the benefit for 1 year only in the past, this is research, shows it's been about 42%. More information has been found that talks about why people have not filed. And there are more likely to be individuals or families who live in rural areas, those that are self-employed, those receiving a disability income or have children with disabilities. There is the ability there to file. They might not have a qualifying child, so they think, well, I don't have any children, I can't file, but we already showed that you actually can. Families and individuals that are not proficient in English. This is a complicated law just in English alone, so having the barrier of a language issue can be really challenging. Grandparents raising their grandchildren, they don't always know that that benefit is available to them, but it is. And folks that have had a change in their status recently, they've divorced, they become unemployed, or other changes, or their parental status, those are the people that tend to not be those that file.
And if we could pause on this, Karen, I'm going to interject and just say, I'm sure that for those of you on the call, the case managers, when you're looking at this list, I would bet that you're dealing with a client that falls into one of those categories.
Yeah.
And so we'd just like you to think about, as you're going through your client list, thinking about different resources for them, if you could, focus on, do I have somebody that's in a rural area? Do I know that I've got a client that's a grandparent that's now raising their grandchild? Hey, this is a benefit that I should let them know about. And again, as Karen started to mention earlier, it's our biggest challenge is that most people just don't realize that they can qualify. And your job as sort of the frontline folks that can let them know is so critical. Again, it's free money. It's a line on the tax form, but we need to let people know it's the line on the tax form that they need to fill out, and it's free money.
And in many cases, to tag on to what Stephanie said, not only clients are the people, individuals that you may work with or help to help put it that way. Sometimes any one of these individuals or any one of these on the list here could even be somebody that you know. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be yourself. There's a lot of, again, it's awareness of what's eligible and what's not eligible, but it's not, EITC is not just a benefit for only those that are in a poverty status, so to speak. It can be a benefit for many, but you don't know about it unless you use it.
I would add to that a personal story. And so maybe, again, what Karen was saying is, you probably know somebody, again, outside of your clients, just your friends or family or a neighbor. I have a very good friend who got divorced 4 years ago. The divorce is not something that she wanted, and she's got 2 young sons. They're 9 and I believe 12. Suddenly she's a single mom. She works for King County. She makes an okay living, but certainly, when she had 2 incomes to support her 2 young sons, it was different. But suddenly now she only has 1. She's fighting to get child support. And she didn't realize, so she's filing her taxes for the first time on her own as a single parent, and didn't realize that there was the EITC. And the $4,700 that she got that year enabled her to get a new car. And it was the new car not being a brand new car, but it enabled her to put a down payment on a vehicle that was finally reliable because she didn't have one. I think we all know somebody that's in a situation like that. So I can say it was one of my proudest moments in my job is to be able to help out a friend of mine that was in a precarious financial situation through no fault of her own, just trying to get back on her feet after a bad divorce. And it really made a big difference in her life.
And I think what we're going to see this year is this bottom bullet right here, where it talks about recently having some change in status. Well, there are hundreds of thousands of people that are recently unemployed this year that may have never been unemployed in their past. So again, not being aware of what's available to them, not knowing they could even file. A lot of people will file on their own. They don't, they might not even use a tax service, or they don't know about available tax services that can help them out. This is a big one, this unemployed. I think it's going to have a huge impact, pardon me, in what we see this past year rather, in the 2020 tax filing season. So I think that's going to have that'll have some importance there. More EITC challenges. Again, lack of awareness. People just don't even know it's out there. It's amazing. It's been around for a long, long time, but just people just don't even know it's there. Sometimes they think it's just way too good to be true, and isn't that the case in many areas? You get an email from a gentleman in some country in Africa or South Africa and says you're a princess or you're a prince and you've inherited the entire fortune of the nation. All you have to do is give them your social security number, your banking information, and pay a small fee of $2 through your bank account, and you will inherit the entire fortune. So sometimes it seems like, wow, I can get $6,600. That's got to be, maybe it's a scam or it's something that's not real. But it is too good to be true. Excuse me, it's not too good to be true. Wait a minute. It is great and it is true. So that's what I'm trying to say. Mix my words there. Another challenge is the cost of paying for a tax, to have your taxes done. I mentioned this earlier too, but $85 to $120, that's just on average. That's not filing your longer forms, but that's a lot of money if you earn a lower income. Having to pay that out of pocket, so people will not tend to go to cost of using commercial tax services. Also, there's predatory practices, and that is those companies that will offer to say, we'll do your taxes and we will give you your refund up front for a small percentage of 48% of your total refund. That's in the fine print. So that is another area where people might say, well, that wasn't worth it. I got it, but I only got a third of it because the rest of it was in fees or in interest. Another is check cashing fees. If maybe you get a check back or however it's done, you may not be bankable. You may not have a bank account, so you might receive an actual check. And so then you go to cash that check somewhere, and have you ever, 10% of $6,600 or whatever, that could be a lot of money. So that's another one that we'd like to caution folks again, and that's a challenge. The graph here shows that 30% of individuals will use self-preparing or use the free filing programs. They'll self-prepare themselves, but 70% of the population still goes to commercial tax preparers, which is pretty astronomical. That's a lot of income. So we're going to talk really quick. So if their commercial tax preparation is so expensive, tell me what an alternative is to that, or how we can help. Maybe you can help your clients, or again, family, friends, yourselves, however. And that is that there are things called VITA sites. They're volunteer income tax assistance sites. And these are all across the US, but we have them here in Washington too. The challenge this past year with the VITA sites was these are places where an individual can go and sit down with a tax preparer, and it's free, but they have to sit down with them. And with COVID, that inability was taken away pretty early in our tax year this past year. So there was a challenge, and there was a struggle and a lot of energy around, well, how can we put the VITA sites together in a format where individuals can do so online, or they can meet by phone, but a lot of times you still have documents that you need to pass off. So that can be a little challenging, but the great folks that work on these VITA sites have put a lot of effort into coming up with ideas and ways that it can still be done, even in a COVID era that we're in. So there's a list here that just talks about it's in many communities across the country. Volunteers that do the tax preparation are trained under IRS guidelines. And it's done through e-filing, but the taxpayers will receive their refund in 7 to 12 days, and then they don't have to pay any. They don't offer the upfront loans and those kind of places. But and there's a site at the bottom that in 2012 the IRS put on their site. You could look it up to find where a local VITA site is in your area. So now we're going to move to, so what can you do? So we've talked about what's available, what's out there, what's the benefit, why people aren't using the benefit, and we're going to try to wrap this back up into your individual work and what you do. And so help us to build trust in EITC. I think that's a really big factor. Again, I mentioned people think it's too good to be true, even though I said it strangely earlier, but a lot of folks think it's got to be a scam. There's got to be a catch or something to it, but help those that do know about EITC or have filed it, or those agencies such as ourselves that are trying to inform the public to build trust in it, to know it's a usable, viable source of income, and to utilize it. Another is help us to raise awareness among the public state officials and local agencies and state offices, such as the Public Health Association, boards of health, WIC offices, areas that people wouldn't innately think to, well, you know, to contact those individuals. They're thinking about going to sites where people are filing for taxes, but the benefit is so vast. We've shown it's got a health benefit. So bringing that and wrapping it around to the awareness among other places other than just poverty programs, let's say, it's really helpful for us if folks can do that. And then the next one is many may be aware or not about the two assistance site, and that's a site that's all across the nation, but we have one here in Washington. It's called Washington 211. And it can refer individuals. If they call Style 211, it will route them to the local regional office of 211 in their area. And if the individual says that they're low income looking for a free tax site, then the 211 operator can refer them to the local one that's serving in their area, or a contact where they can reach out and find where the free tax sites are available. 211 is an excellent resource for far more than just taxes, but I'll talk about that too in a little while. But any one of these are great that we hope you'll help us with. And then what else can you do? Just share the information with everybody you interact with. You can be our public boards, I guess, that receive any kind of social benefits, such as employment assistance, housing, family development, nutrition, any of those. But even again, those that don't necessarily might not qualify for a human service type of a benefit, still can qualify for EITC. So show them the money. That's kind of another one that we like to talk about, is show them the money. And we've discovered that in spite of our best efforts, and the Department of Commerce is in charge of the EITC outreach campaign in the state of Washington every year, and we have done so many varieties of different things, but in spite of our best efforts to advertise, we print public ads, we use social media, and a variety of different things. But the best way to promote EITC is to educate people and inform others personally. That's the best public information announcement we can actually give out. And I know that if you've signed up for public benefits, or in many cases individuals that may have that are on the call or may understand this, but when you sign up for public benefits, it feels like you could really never get ahead of the line, meaning that you qualify for one benefit and then, oh, I've got to go over here, and then I have to file out this form over to that agency, and then I need to go over here and file this form for that agency, and then go back over here, and it can be a barrage of challenges. And so this whole EITC prospect can just get lost in all of that. They're too busy trying to file for benefits, and they're thinking of the now, whereas EITC is something that they can get back during tax time. So again, personal information is something that we would hope that you can share for us and with us.
And I would add to that as well, the reason that we're bringing this up now is to really kind of prime everybody for tax season. What Karen just said, you know, we've all experienced this when you have to go to different agencies and fill out the different forms. But the one thing we all have in common is we all have to file taxes, and we all have to do it by April 15th. And so as you're going into the new year and talking to your clients about, you know, we'll start paying attention to tax filing in about February, is when most people start thinking, oh, I got to do that. And then by March, you're like, oh, I really got to do that. And then the 1st of April, oh boy, I've got 2 weeks left. And so we wanted to raise awareness with you now so that when tax season comes around and you're talking to your clients or family members or friends, hopefully this will trigger, hey, did you know about this benefit? Let's look into it, because there's a chance that you could qualify. And I would say, again, on a personal note, another reason to bring it up to you all today is that this is a year unlike any other. And we know that people have had dramatic changes in circumstances this year. I think every person on this call knows either themselves or a family member or a friend or a neighbor that maybe lost their job or lost income in a significant way, or has had a major health crisis because of COVID. And so we just want to make sure that, I think this is a moving forward strategy in 2021 where we can give somebody a shot in the arm with a good chunk of extra cash if they know to file when it comes to tax season. So for me, I think, no better year.
Personally, I have a feeling, I personally feel there's no better job in government, state government, than helping others. And while we may not directly see that, just passing information along to such as this to someone that can utilize it at a different time, what an impact it could have on them in the future. So you never know what you might say or share today that could be hugely beneficial. Even if somebody that can't use the benefit this year, what about next year in the future, such as Stephanie's example where she had a friend that went through a divorce. And so you simply just don't know what's around the corner. And having the ability to share something that's really terrific news like this, it's good news. That's a great, that helps to just improve and make you feel better about again, it's hopeful. Hopeful, I guess, is a way to put that. Well, we have another quick break to take. We won't take a long one again this time. We'll take, well, not that 5 minutes is long, but let's take about a 3-minute quick break, and then we can all come back and we're going to share some more information with you. And we're rounding around the corner here on this, so please go ahead and take a break. Thanks. Okay, I think we'll rejoin again. Fortunately, I don't have any more fun facts for you after after this little break we had, but we're going to jump right back into the presentation. And we're going to talk about the 211 network. I mentioned earlier Washington 211 and how you can refer individuals, clients to call the 211 number, dial 211. And so I wanted to chat a little bit about what it is and who can use it and why it matters. We indicated it's great for sharing information about the free VITA sites, is what they're called, tax preparation sites, but there's so much more to 211. And so here's a slide that talks about the impact of 211. Of course, you can dial 911 for regular emergencies and list those on the left. Those are the normal emergencies. But 211 is a great resource for information on if anybody is seeking info or assistance for housing, maybe finding shelter, to locate a food bank, disaster relief, fraud and identity protection. There's the tax preparation services, veteran services, support groups, and counseling. And again, when you call in, or you can also use this online, excuse me, you can also go online, you can send a text. There's a variety of ways that 211 work. You don't have to just dial the phone, but the operator or the person or the navigator on the line will help the person calling or seeking assistance to find the closest and available place near them, so that if you're calling from Tacoma, they're not going to give you information on a site in Spokane, which is not helpful at all in many cases, but 211 has the ability to narrow down where you're at, and then they can help you with the availability of resources right near where you're at. So that's super helpful. So 211, it's an excellent resource to have. I've dialed it many times myself when seeking help for people that have called into our agency looking for assistance, and it might not be something that the program I work in does, but I'll call 211 to find out who in the local area where the person is calling from can help them. So it's a great resource. Now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, who's going to talk a little bit about another asset, which is retirement. So we're going to let her take that from here.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm going to talk today about yet another resource from the Department of Commerce, Washington's Retirement Marketplace. Again, what is it, who can use it, and why it matters. But before I go there, I've got a question for everybody, and if you could answer it into the chat, that would be great. My question is, what do you think the average amount is that people have saved for retirement? And so these are people that are, and we'll start with the years. So if you're 65 or older, how much do you think the average is that people have saved? I'm going to give a couple of seconds for people to think about that. And Beck, if you could give us some responses in the chat.
I have no idea what the answer is, by the way. I'm seeing 200,000 or less, 40,000, 50,000, 25,000, 10,000.
All over the map.
All over.
All right. Well, that's actually pretty indicative of where things are. But let me give you the hard statistic. AARP has done a study, and in the United States, 45% of those United States residents have less than, that are 65 and over, have less than $25,000 saved for retirement. 25% of residents that are 65 and over have less than $5,000 saved. Think about, that's a pretty sobering statistic. What that means is that if approximately 45% of our residents in the country are going into their senior years and are going to live in poverty, there is no way, as we all know, that you can live on Social Security alone. We're hopeful that that benefit will continue, but I think we're all concerned about the reliability of the Social Security network moving forward. But regardless of whether it's there or not, you just can't survive on Social Security alone. And so having something saved for retirement is absolutely critical. When we think about what happens if people don't have money saved, they're living in poverty. Think about they're a senior, they're having to go to a food bank for food supplements, right? And think about whether it's your parent, or if you're younger, if it's your grandmother. Is that where you want your family member to be? You know, at 67, 70 years old, having to go to a food bank in order to supplement their food. You know, we've got a lot of great public benefits in Washington State, but for me, taking care of our seniors is really about one of the most important things. I think about this a lot because I'll be honest, you know, my mom was one of those people who didn't have much saved for retirement at 45 years old. She went back to the workplace at 45 after her husband passed away, and she actually had zero saved. Now at 72 years old, she's got little more than 100,000 saved, which is not nearly enough, but at least it's something. And so I guess for me, this is kind of a real personal plea to try and remind people that retirement is really critical. You know, and it's something that's so far out in the future that most of us don't think about it every day. And if we do think about it, you know, when we're getting our paychecks, go, God, I really, you know, my budget's stretched. I've got every dollar budgeted. I really can't afford to save anything extra. But the truth is you can. And even if it starts with, you know, $10 a paycheck or $20 a paycheck, just getting into that savings is absolutely critical. So launching into the retirement marketplace, what was the problem that the Department of Commerce was trying to solve? Well, it was this problem of not people individually not having enough saved for retirement, but also the other statistic in Washington is about 50% of employers, businesses do not offer a retirement savings program for their employees. Now, if you're fortunate to work in state government or county or local government, you've got a great retirement benefit. But for most of us out there, our employers don't offer a retirement retirement plan. So the retirement marketplace was developed exactly for those reasons, to help individuals. Say, for example, you are a hairdresser. You are essentially a contract worker. You lease space in a hair salon, and you, oh yeah, thank you for going to the next slide. But because you are a sole proprietor by the tax code, you don't have a retirement marketplace plan. You don't have a retirement plan. On the flip side, imagine you're a restaurant worker. You're working for a great restaurant. They're doing okay before COVID. But again, they don't have a retirement plan. And so the reason for the marketplace was to actually provide an opportunity for small businesses and individuals to be able to go online and search for a retirement plan for themselves. And it's actually, I think you all on this call probably would understand the system better than anybody, because it's very similar to the Affordable Care Act, where what it is a website where the state has vetted retirement plans. You as an individual can get on there, look at the plans that are offered, knowing that the state has looked through these plans and has some great benefits. They've already negotiated on all of our behalfs, no fees to the employer if you're a small business. If you're an individual, as you can see from this slide, there's less than 1% fee. The plans are verified by state officials. The accounts, most importantly, can go with you no matter where you go. So if you change jobs, if you are that hairstylist and you've moved from one salon to the other, or there may be a third a few years later, your plan goes with you. Same thing if you are a restaurant worker. Probably most importantly, it's completely voluntary. It's just we're offering an opportunity for people to start saving, and you can save any amount. I want to say Washington Retirement Market first opened, I was one of the first people to sign up for it. And so I can tell you from personal experience how incredibly easy it is. You get on there and you just plug in your information. And for me, I just said, you know what, I'm going to go and save $20 every paycheck, $40 a month. And it's been incredible how that money has grown. I put it into an IRA because my employer doesn't offer a matched retirement savings. And the fact that it was just taken out of my paycheck without me ever seeing the money was just incredible, where it just helped me save. And all of a sudden I got to tax season and they said, how much have you saved for retirement? I was like, wow, look at that, really built up this year. So We're trying really hard to let people know about this amazing program that's out there. Oh, thank you for the next slide. So again, the automatic deduction from your checking account is one of the great features. That said, if you're not comfortable with that, you can just plug in anytime. Maybe you've got a little extra money from, let's say, your EITC. You can take a portion of your earned income tax credit and send that over into your retirement plan and just plug in that extra, $1,000 or $500, whatever it is. You can start saving at any time, and if something changes in your circumstance, as though you've lost your job, they're not going to keep taking the money out. You can stop it at any time and then resume when your circumstances change. And again, I know that everybody on this call understands, just saving that small amount each month can really accumulate over the years. And probably the most important thing too is just developing that habit of savings, right? And it's really more of a mental perspective when you know that you just have something in the bank that you can tap into if you really need to. Now remember, retirement savings, the idea is not to tap into it until you're actually at a point in your life where you are trying to retire, so that you can use this income to supplement maybe another account that you have or the Social Security that you might be getting. But the idea that you've developed that habit of savings and start to see yourself as a saver, somebody who consistently saves week after week, paycheck after paycheck, is really important. We've learned a lot from the field of behavioral economics, which shows that when people develop habits like savings, it really translates across all aspects of their lives, because savings is a positive behavior. And what we've learned over the years is that it doesn't actually matter how much you save. There's really, in terms of how you start to view yourself as a saver, there's no difference if you only save $5 a week or if you save $50 a week or $500 a week. The fact is you've started to identify yourself as somebody who saves money. And that's one of the great things about the retirement marketplace, is that it allows individuals in Washington State that, again, don't have those employers that offer plans to just start saving on their own, and they can carry that money anywhere they want. Guess we're getting a little bit of music. Somebody was pretty excited there. So this last slide, check it out for yourself. It's a really easy website to navigate. You can see it right there, retirement-marketplace.com. Again, sponsored by the Department of Commerce. I worked on this program from the early days of it being passed in the legislature to where it is right now. And again, maybe just as a little bit of background, the state senator who put this legislation forward a number of years ago was Senator Mark Mullet from Issaquah. Excuse me. And the reason he put the legislation forward is because he is a small business owner himself. He owns Zeke's Pizza, and I don't know if it's Baskin Robbins, Ben & Jerry's. He owns a Ben & Jerry's franchise. So he had these two small franchise businesses and realized he didn't know a good, efficient way to offer retirement savings programs to his employees. And then he realized, wow, there's a whole bunch of other small business owners that are in the same boat. So how can the state step in, vet these programs so an employer doesn't have to go out, get on the interweb and try and search through different retirement plans and figure out which one is best? The state of Washington has already done it for you. So again, a third resource that we really wanted to talk with you about today, because we know a lot of people don't think about retirement savings, but again, building that savings habit early on is really, really important. And it doesn't matter the amount of money that you save, just that you started savings. All right, and next one. Oh, Karen, jump in.
I was going to say, to tag on to that, if you do have an EITC benefit coming back, what a great way to maybe jumpstart your retirement retirement savings account. If people, even like Stephanie said, $5, $10, whatever the small amount is. The reason we wanted to show that here too is it can tie within your EITC benefit, because if you do get a refund, this is a great way to kickstart it for whatever amount that you may have that you can afford to put in at the time. But that's something also to share with clients and individuals that you know.
Karen, thank you so much for mentioning that. And that's really, again, yeah, tying it all together. Think of how much good you can do for some of your clients if you can let them know about a tax refund that they didn't know about before, and then help them start their first retirement savings program. I mean, what a way to put somebody on a path of greater financial security than that. Taking essentially free money that's coming to them, opening up that first retirement savings program, and letting them grow it from there. So that's the other reason we wanted to bring it forward. You guys are in a key place to be able to really help people learn about these resources that they might not have known about before. So the final thing we wanted to talk with you about today is the work that my organization does, because it can really, we're in 17 different counties. What is the Asset Building Coalition Network? Here you go. Here's a great statewide slide. We are in 17 different counties. I actually failed to mention, I noticed when I put this slide together, we are also in Mason County, although it's not on this slide. So this is really the statewide, what I call the statewide opportunity network. Our local coalitions are made up of community action program folks, United Ways, credit union representatives or community bank representatives, people that are working to help those most in need. Most of the local asset building coalitions are working on all of the things we've talked about today: retirement savings, VITA sites, the volunteer income tax assistance that Karen mentioned earlier. Most of the coalitions help either run or staff VITA sites. We all work on getting the word out about earned income tax credit. Almost all of the coalitions around the state work on helping people get into mainstream banking. Again, those that were maybe shut out or have chosen not to use a mainstream bank. Most of them work on things, as I mentioned earlier, helping people improve their credit, and probably most importantly, helping people develop savings. So I wanted to let you know that for those of you that are around the state, there's a very good chance that in your county, we've got an asset building coalition that you can tap into to learn about these resources and to help support you in your work. I'd be happy to send out the local coalition contacts to anybody that would like it. So we can do that after this webinar. Thank you. And next slide, please.
Just going to add really quick that one of the really enormous features we found with the asset building coalitions across the state is that an individual, quite honestly, they may come into some money, or they may have money or earning money that they may not have had before. Maybe they're new into the working environment, or they have been unemployed for a while, or they got an EITC benefit of $6,600. But one of the great things the coalitions can offer is financial literacy. They offer classes to help people understand about the benefit of helping to start a bank account, and or how to hold on to that money or make that money the most beneficial for them. Often that's the last thing on somebody's mind, and especially if they've been in crisis, or they're going through a challenging time. They just see that the money comes in and they think immediately how it can be so helpful, which it can, but you also have to think of the long-term benefit. And many of these individual coalitions will offer evening classes, weekend classes. They work around the working people environment, so to speak, so that they can reach folks that are outside of the 9-to-5 working schedule. But such a huge benefit, such a huge benefit.
And these days, most of them are, well, all of them are online classes.
Yes.
Just
yes,
like
sorry, yes.
So, the final thing I wanted to close with, which is where we started, is it's all about creating opportunity, right? It's on a positive note. The work that the Department of Commerce is doing and that we partner with them on is just trying to provide opportunities for people to enhance their economic future. And the reason for that is why, it improves their health outcomes. They have better family relationships. If you feel like you have some hope in the world, if you have a shot at opportunity, you feel better about things moving forward. And that's what this variety of programs, whether it's the EITC, the retirement marketplace, free tax prep 211, it's all about providing resources and opportunity for people to move forward. Karen, and I think you're going to finish us off.
I am. The only other thing is we're just about done with this, other than we'll open it up for questions, but we really hope that the information we've shared is relatable for you, and that whether it's for a client, yourself, family member, friend, whatever it may be, that even if one individual or one family benefits from our discussion here in the last 90 minutes, that's a win as far as we're concerned. That's right there, one family, one person. Isn't that a great thing to know that they've been helped into a better life and better situation? So we hope that that'll become of this. But so the next slide just basically says we're done. Presentation's finished. You can applaud, which we can't really hear you, and don't ask any tough questions. Of course, that's just a little funny thing there. But we did want to open it up to anyone that might have some questions or information they'd like to learn more about. We're happy to share that with you at this time. And I think we're going to have Rebecca monitor the chat feature if there are any, or Dawn or others, let us know.
Yeah, we had a few trickle in here throughout the presentation. So the first one asks, what exactly is the role of the state in EITC funding?
So I can answer that. The Department of Commerce, we're charged with is it's basically the outreach for EITC, because the EITC itself, the benefit doesn't come from the Department of Commerce. It doesn't flow through the Department of Commerce. It's not any funding that we issue out. But each state is charged with making sure that individuals that live within that state or reside within that state know about the tax benefit and can take advantage of it. So our role is education, basically, and information, and getting, informing, doing the outreach part of it. And that's actually something that we start pretty early in the beginning of, in the prior tax year. So meaning that about September, October, we start formulating our plans, even earlier than that, to be honest with you, and how we can do outreach, how we can advertise. The last 2 years, we've taken on the social media aspect using Facebook, Twitter, and other accounts, which has really brought forth some great benefit, I think, in the long run, because we were able to reach folks in that wouldn't normally receive a piece of paper in the mail, or a lot of individuals do receive information through their unemployment. They might get an unemployment flyer, and there'll be a printed material about EITC there, which is something we provide as well. But because it's an unfunded mandate, there's no funding from the legislature on the state level. You get the federal EITC is there, but the state level, there are no funds that we can manage or help with. Hopefully that answered it.
And next question, when spreading the word, should we start ASAP or wait until after the first of the year?
I would, there's no time like the present, is how I always feel about it. Even if it's just, if you are working with individuals and clients now, this has been an extremely difficult and challenging year. And even if they have the thought or understand that, wow, this might be something I can achieve, they can file right away, and why not? Let's spread this now. Again, maybe it doesn't even apply to somebody today, but who knows what a year or two down the line it might work for. But please do share as soon as possible. And Stephanie and myself, and Dawn too, she can connect you to either one of us. We're happy to help with that. We can share flyers, we can share information, we can share whatever you might need that might be helpful for you.
And I'd add on to that, I think we all know those statistics about people need to hear information at least 4 times before it really sinks in. And so if you're meeting with clients, sort of priming them, right? It's going to be the first of the year. We all have, which means the holidays are going to be behind us. It's a new opportunity to start to save. Things are going to be better in 2021. We've got, this vaccine coming out. We've got now finally Congress is going to provide an additional stimulus package. So we've got, the winds at our back. This is a good opportunity. And hey, as you're talking to clients, just remember, tax season's right around the corner. I just learned about this new benefit, but the more frequently you can mention it, if you only mention it once and we wait when they're in the middle of a bunch of other things, they're unlikely to remember it. So the more frequently you can mention it, just throw it in with the other benefits that you're aware of, that would be great.
And don't stop mentioning it. I mean, this is a benefit that's going to continue. It's not just a 2020 or 2021 benefit. Even if it's not tax season, it's something to share out of tax season as well, because it is important that folks know this benefit is available to them eventually and how they can utilize it. So.
Well,
Go ahead,
this
Rebecca.
is Dawn. I will mention again too that once I have the attendee list and the registration list downloaded, I'm going to send out the link to the recording. If you need to listen to this information again in order to be able to speak to folks, you'll have that opportunity to do that. The slides, as you can see, have the contact information for all three of our presenters. And so once we're done with this, and I have the registration list and attendee list, and then the slides, I will be sending those out to you. And Stephanie and Karen and Rebecca, if you have other items that you want me to include in that email that I'm going to send out to everyone, if there's no other links or forms or things like that you want me to include as well, I will happily do that. So just let me know.
We'll include an EITC flyer for this year that individuals can share digitally, or share the other information. A lot of us are working from home, so you may not have the ability to print out information, but we'll include that, which has a lot of details and contact info on that as well. So
Perfect.
We'll send that to you, Don.
That sounds wonderful.
And I'll include information about the local asset building coalitions in the different counties.
That is excellent.
Becca, were there any other questions that might have come in?
There were, and you may have answered this in one of your previous explanations, but someone asked, I caught the last bit of the opportunity for employment providers. Can you repeat that?
Oh, was this for, I think it was retirement marketplace. I think that's what that was. I believe, I'm hoping that is what the question was about, and I'm gonna let Stephanie answer that for employment providers if it was on the retirement marketplace. I will add though, if the EITC benefits, I'm not quite sure that how it would rank. Okay, I'm gonna let Stephanie take it. I'm gonna quit questioning this.
I will do my best. So employment providers. So again, really these are, this is for private businesses or individuals that file as a sole proprietor, have the opportunity to go onto the retirement marketplace website and look at the different plans. So there's really two plans. One is for a private employer, somebody who owns a business and wants to create a retirement plan for their employees to tap into, and it doesn't require the employer to match the funds. I want to be clear about that. It just means it's an added benefit that employer can offer to their employees. It would be great if the employer matched the funds even a little bit, but they're not required to. Or if an individual is a sole proprietor, again, somebody that just files individually, like the hairstylist that I mentioned, they also can get on there and open up their own retirement plan. Or you can just open up an IRA through the marketplace as well. So an individual retirement account. All three of those options are there.
Hopefully that answered the question. We've got about 1 minute left. Maybe real quick question, or
let's see. We've got a few in here. If someone is filing on their own through TurboTax or another service, where would they find the EITC question?
There is one of the questions that TurboTax will ask. I haven't used that one recently, but it does ask if it looks for the income qualification. It'll look for how many deductions you have, and there'll be some sections that ask, or questions that ask about qualifying dependents, things like that, that will help to determine whether an EITC benefit is available or not. So if you do use one of the online services directly to file, that is the option, but you need to know how to answer those questions and not be confused by those questions. Again, that a lot of times happens, and people see that and they're a little leery of, well, I'm not sure, what is the qualifier, things like that. So it is an available application as part of the online e-filings.
And Becca, maybe what we can do is, if there's other questions,
yes,
you could email those to us, and we'd be happy to get back to the participants with them individually.
Exactly. I was just going to add that. Those, please know that if we didn't get to your question, we will respond to them and can provide that even with our information that we share with the slideshow. So
wonderful.
We'll make sure that questions are answered.
So since we're at time, And we can go a little longer if there are some questions, and if you three are available to stick around for 5 minutes and answer additional, that is an option. Or certainly answering them via email is good. I can even put them in that, the thanks for attending email, so that they can, the response can go out to the whole group. I did want to say thank you to everyone who's attended, and thanks for the patience with the new level of weird with this platform kicking some of us out. And not all of us. That was unusual. Also wanted to say that we have our next monthly topical employment webinar in January on I think it's the 21st without looking, on ABLE savings accounts. So gosh, maybe that's something that can dovetail with this as well.
Yes. That sounds perfect to us. I don't know if there's any questions left over or unquestioned.
There were just a couple. If you'd like, I can read them, or you can answer them in email.
Is that okay, Dawn? To maybe hit those really quick?
Whatever works for you. We can stay on for a couple of extra minutes. That's not a problem.
Okay, we'll try to be brief.
So, someone asked, I'd love to hear from others about best practices for spreading the word about EITC.
So I can only share with you best practices amongst the grantees that I manage and the program I manage, and we can include some ways of doing that. There is actually an outreach toolkit that is available for EITC that talks about talking to individuals and other people, and how you can use the tools to inform others. So I'm happy to also include the information on how to access that toolkit, which provides a lot of examples of how to share information. So I can speak to it from that angle. I'm not sure amongst the folks on the phone, though.
And I'd add to that as I mentioned earlier, all of the local asset building coalitions spread the word, Karen mentioned, in a variety of ways. Social media is probably the most effective, I think, these days, but there's also posters and billboards. You can do mail stuffers. The idea is really just making people aware of it so that they're like, huh, and they can ask their tax preparer whether they're going to a Vita site or using H&R Block. Hey, do I qualify for this benefit? I heard something, it's called I don't know, EITC. Do I qualify for that? It's mostly just priming people to ask the question. So, but social media is obviously the easiest way to get the information out, what we found to be one of the best practices. And so the Department of Commerce is great about running ads, but also our local coalitions do that as well.
And there was a question related to unemployment, and I will do my best to paraphrase. Do we know the process, or what the process will be for those who were receiving unemployment? Will they be receiving something from unemployment to provide to the IRS to claim the income that they were receiving from unemployment?
So I can't speak for ESD directly. However, I do know that if there were any individuals that claimed unemployment during this, especially this past tax year, what we provide to ESD and other sources is there's printed materials that we give out that they can include in check stuffers, things like that. But not everybody gets their benefit that way. A lot of it now is done just through automatic transfers into your bank or checking account, whatever that may be. So ESD does, I think, post this information on their website. They don't necessarily reach out to each individual that claimed unemployment during the year and say, here's this tax benefit, take advantage of it. That is something that they don't, I think, even have the capacity to do, to be quite honest, but they do publish as best as they can. So it's kind of dependent upon the resources and agency capacity, but they do have the ability.
Well, and I actually see a question that I missed, because I think Diane King was asking about employment provider question, opportunity for employment providers. The agencies that are on this call are typically supported employment foundational community supports agencies. And the opportunity I brought up was to participate in a fidelity review, either as hosting a review or as a reviewer, and we have grants for that. So do please contact Darren or myself. When I send out the thank you email, you can respond to that if you have an interest or want to hear more about it. And I will surely share that with you.
Thanks.
I hijacked you during the break.
That's all good. No, I was listening. You have to be careful. We so appreciate your time. I don't want to continue holding folks up. I know you have really important work to do. And also just would like to give you a benefit of a little time. But thank you so much for listening to us and participating. Please reach out. We're from the government. We're here to help, right? But we are here to help out whenever we can, and in any which way, shape, or form. Please do not hesitate.
And thank you so much for all the work you guys are doing. Everybody on this call to reach out to the people that really need help the most. Really grateful for all of your hours of service.
Absolutely.
Ditto.
Thank you, ladies, for your information, and I know it will be a benefit to the people being served and obviously to some of the staff working in the agencies as well. So thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Happy holidays.
You
have a great rest of your day.
All righty. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.